Okay, so let me just quickly show you what I've been working on here. I'm actually just going to dive straight into it. So this is not a real cerebral project. I just been experimenting with this. But what we see here is like a component that's connected, and it connects not using tags, but it uses something called proxy. Now, proxy is a low-level, like a word, but it should probably be called something else. But the point is, you have these proxies. So you connect as normal, but you use these proxies instead. So for example, state, module A, we have bar, which is a number. And then we have, for example, module, let's say, state module B, foo, which is a string. So let's change back to module A, bar, and then we have a signal here where the payload needs to be foo and string. So when these are defined, the connect is actually able to extract the state and the signal here. And then inside foo we have a number and we have a signal. So for example, happened tells me that I have to pass a string of foo. Okay, and then we can have a look inside an action. So an action uses the context defined for this application, and that contains the state. So in this case, we just say that the context passed into this action is the context, and then we also tell it what it uses on the props. Now, it's impossible for TypeScript to understand what props is here based on like the signal execution, previous actions and stuff, because it's so dynamic. Like this one action could be used in 10 different signals with different props, and it's just impossible. But by defining what you are using on the props, it gives some type safety. What's maybe the coolest thing here is that it's possible to just point to the state and make changes to it. Now this is not actually running as it seems. This is actually being proxied, which is kind of cool. Okay, but you don't have to care about that. So let's have a quick look at a module. So the way you define modules is basically the same. The only difference is that you export the interface of the state, and you also actually export the state itself separately from the module. And this is the same, we export the interface of state, and here we export signals. Basically a signal is just a function with a payload, like you see here, so you can just define it like this. And then we export the state, and we also export the signals separately from the module. Alright, and then like here we put the modules together, and also if we look into types here, we see that we bring in the cerebral context and we bring in the types, so that we kind of compose together all the state of the application, and then we add our application specific state to the context here. Cool. And then inside proxy we basically do the same as in types, but instead of composing together the types, we already have them now, and what we do is we kind of like connect them to the initial state and signals. So we proxy both of them, and this is how it's possible to look up everything. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to go to module A and we're going to make a change here. So we're going to say that bar is supposed to be a string instead. So first we have to change the state here. And now everything looks okay. But if we go into the action now, it states that the type of number is not assignable to type string. So now bar is actually a string, but we say that foo is a number. So this gave us some type safety here. So we can just change this to string, for example. And then we can go to the connect. And this also gives us an error now. Now it knows that this is a string, so it can't call this method on it. Yeah, so basically that's it. This is what I've been playing with. There's some missing stuff here related to props, but I haven't like implemented all this stuff. I just wanted to ask you what you think about structuring your application like this, and if this indeed does give you tons of benefits. Now the thing is that proxies does not work for Internet Explorer 11, which means that this will not work in IE 11, but we can still support it in the normal Cerebral, and then if you don't have to support IE 11, you can actually use this approach. Okay, that's it. Thanks.